following is an exclusive presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
Madison Square Garden, New York City, where Selection Day is seeing a flurry of trades at the top of the order. The draft's most dangerous dealer resides in Miami. Jimmy Johnson's armed and ready with a house full of picks. It may as well be opening kickoff for the National Football League. Who says the season starts in September? It starts here at the theater for the 62nd annual NFL selection meeting, which we sometimes call the NFL draft. Hi, everybody. Chris Berman, Joe Theismann, Mel Kiper, Tom Jackson, and Sterling Sharp in New York. We're everywhere, and why not? Well, Jimmy Johnson on the clock with the Miami Dolphins. We'll take a look at the war room right now. We've gotten accustomed to this scene as certainly when Jimmy's years, his Super Bowl years with the Dallas Cowboys. And now we brought War Room Cam along with Jimmy and his tropical fish down to the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins were an 8-8 squad last year. His first draft a couple years ago, well, not his first draft, but from 2 years ago, the 95 draft, there are just, what, one player left from that draft? So he has really changed things over and looks to do a lot of the same, Mel, because as Chris Mortensen mentioned, when we come to the third round, the Dolphins, don't forget, will have 4 picks.
They will, and I think when you look at the best available players right now, you're going to see a lot of quality still on the board. It's good for Miami, good for Tampa Bay, good for Washington, good for Houston. All those teams are positioned to get quality football players. When you look at the best available players, Yatil Green, Jim Druckenmiller. Does he go here? Does he go to the 49ers? Caruth, the speed receiver, Rudd, an outstanding all-around linebacker, Corey Dillon, the power runner, and, of course, Jamie Sharper, a true outside backer. When you look at the rest of the players, Antoine Smith, we know about his capabilities. LaFleur, Wiley, Tarek Glenn, that bookend left tackle, is going to get better, only 20 years of age. Damon Denton, an outstanding pure guard, a former defensive tackle. I think you're looking at a lot of quality, and those teams that move down and those teams still waiting, like the Washington Redskins particularly, are going to see a lot of good defensive players still there.
Well, certainly Jimmy Johnson worked the draft, and that's why the Dallas Cowboys won the 3 Super Bowls, 2 with Jimmy there, and, of course, the 1 with Switzer. He's working the draft now with the Dolphins. Working for us down at Miami is Chris Mortensen, and I guess Jimmy really had about 3 or 4 or 5 ways he could go, but several of the players that he was looking at are already gone, right, Morton?
Well, no, I think he had 3 or 4 that were still there. I think Renard Wilson certainly would have been a guy he would have considered, but, you know, to me, Jimmy always looks for value here, and he could trade out. He's been on the phone, but there's a playmaker on the board, and he was at the top of Mel's list there, Yatil Green, University of Miami. Some think he could be another Michael Irvin, and Jimmy knows what type of success he's had there, but certainly Jimmy, I think, is going to be pleased because he felt this draft was going to fall his way at this 15 spot. Chris?
Well, I find it interesting they're looking at the map there. I don't know if they're going to look for a player in Utah or that was Arizona, New Mexico. I don't know, maybe that's a clue. We're looking for clues at this point.
Well, what they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out where they're going to ship somebody. Right. I mean, when you look at Jimmy, and it was mentioned earlier, Jimmy likes to control the draft. He controls it with picks. And what he's doing is he's built the Miami Dolphins basically with 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks. The first round to him is not necessarily one where he can get quote-unquote value. He may get a good player, but he needs somebody to come in and play for him. He's made it clear to a lot of people. You come in, you work hard for me, you're going to play. We saw it with Zach Thomas last year. You don't have to be drafted high. All you have to do is show me you can get the job done. Again, this is sort of one of those situations where you hear the name Yatil Green again. Down in Miami, it works for him if it's a possibility.
Well, Jimmy on the phone. You saw Bob Ackles in the shot a moment ago. The Dolphins have about 5 minutes to make their pick. We'll be back. Back in New York, the Dolphins have made their selection.
Could be dinner.
Well, we're going to give the commissioner another shot at it because it's certainly not his fault. We have what we call technical difficulties. We have our best men on it. The
Change. Just like there's change.
This is why we have backup Mike.
Who do you think it's going to be, Chris?
This is why you need good backups for the entire season.
I told you that. That's why I talked about those veterans.
And maybe they're already negotiating the deal. Bob Ackles, Jimmy Johnson on the phone. It's very exciting. It's the most exciting microphone change that we've ever had here at the draft.
The 15th pick in the first round, Miami Dolphins select Yatil Green, wide receiver from the University of Miami.
Well, they don't have to pay moving expenses. That's one thing they don't have to do.
We're looking at the map.
Right, in California, plane fare too much. Let's go home.
Let's go home.
Well, you look at a big receiver, Chris. I thought it was the best value on the board. 6'2½", 210 pounds. He had some injury problems, but when this kid was healthy, 15.9-yard average. He showed that he's a true speed receiver at the combine when he ran that 4.38. Watch him blow past this defensive back who has good size and then compete for the football and show those excellent hands. Does a good job shielding the defender away from the football, catches the ball. Also, look at the ability to pull away. That's what showed that he was a first-rounder, a mid-first-rounder, was that speed. Here he is against Kevin Abrams, a little corner from Syracuse. Watch him in traffic between Darius, the safety, and Abrams. Here against Virginia, pulls in the long touchdown reception. When he was healthy, as I said, Joe, he was a playmaker. There's very few wide receivers, 6'2½", 210 pounds, that run like Yatil Green and jump like Yatil Green. They also come out of a pro offense like Miami that are still there at this stage of the first round.
Well, Yatil Green played 5 games in '96 against ranked teams. We go up to Chris Fowler. And in that, he averaged 115 yards a game and almost 20 yards a catch against ranked teams. So maybe he's not a touchdown maker, but he is tough down the middle and obviously a big specimen, a la a guy that Jimmy once had, Michael Irvin. Chris?
Well, you're right, Boomer, but I don't think, Mike, he ever made the kind of plays or the number of plays at Miami that it was expected of him when he came in. I mean, Yatil Green did not live up to many people's expectations down in Dade County at the Orange Bowl. Now we get the chance to go out to Broward County and play at Pro Players Park. But, Mike, to be fair, he did have some problems with the hammies at Miami. Always had a hamstring problem. Said he was tough enough to play through it. When he was healthy, what did you see that you like about him?
Well, he fits the NFL profile. You know, you're looking for a 6'2½", 200-pound receiver to work against corners, smaller corners, and he's a big play type receiver. But you hit a big point there. He played 14 of 24 games for Butch Davis. He's had hamstring problems, he's had groin problems, and he doesn't do him any good if he's not on the field.
It goes back to that age-old debate of productivity as a college player versus potential based on workout, and Green clearly has been that latter kind of a guy as opposed to many receivers who caught a lot more balls. Now let's go back down to New York.
All right, Chris and Coach, you're right. I mean, his numbers were good, but production, you'd like to see him get a little bit more in the end zone. Let's go up to Sterling Sharp. And Sterling, big receiver, which means that he should be able to beat the small DBs into the end zone. And what are your thoughts on Yatil Green? You think he's waiting to come out of it here in the pros?
Well, Chris, what I think is what he's going to have to do is he's going to be like Keyshawn and learn how to play low. I mean, you look at the guy in college, the one thing that leaped out at me, if I can go to the video, the one thing that leaped out at me was this. He has desire and wants you to make big plays, and he wants to make every catch. You see right here, the safety's going to come in the picture. This is just want to. He wants to make this catch. He wants to make this big play. He's not going to get an opportunity in the NFL to run straight line routes like he's running in college here. He's a great speed guy, but I think for Jimmy, he's going to have to learn how to play technique. He's going to have to learn, and when I say technique, he's going to have to learn how to win in transition. And what I'm talking about as a receiver, the way you start to get that great push, he's going to have to learn to get down in his routes and be able to use his power step to come back to the football. Every pass that he caught in college was basically over the top. A lot of them were over the top. Now he's going to have to believe in his hands to step back and make those catches at the balls. Play low in his waist. Keyshawn Johnson had to learn because you're going to see a lot of bump and run for a big receiver. Play low, use his power steps to come back, catch the ball in his hands. But, Chris, I think it's a good pick. I think with Jimmy Johnson, this is a Butch Davis pick all the way. I think these guys know each other very well. Jimmy Johnson knows what he's getting from Yatil Green.
Well, Sterling, Yatil Green also knows that with a guy named Marino at quarterback, he'll probably be getting the football rather quickly. Let's go down to Chris Mortensen with Jimmy Johnson in Miami. Mort?
I am with Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy, you didn't trade the pick, but you did end up with a playmaker. What about Yatil Green?
Hey, well, before I talk about Yatil, y'all made me wait and watch Sterling Sharp rush the passer. You got to be kidding me. No, anyway, Yatil, you know, it's truly, you hear this phrase every single draft, you know, that you say, well, we didn't think that he was going to be available at that pick, but when he fell to us, you know, we took him. But this is a case. I thought that Yatil would go a little bit higher than that. We had him as the #1 receiver in the draft. You know, he's 6'3" and he's sub 4'4". He's a playmaker, and I think you know how I feel about playmakers. And it's ironic, we had Butch Davis, the head coach at University of Miami, here with us at the draft, and we discussed Yatil, you know, probably an hour before we picked him. But again, we didn't feel like he'd be there, and we had an opportunity to move down out of our pick, and that's what I thought we were going to do prior to the draft. But, you know, with Yatil there, we said, hey, you know, we got to take him because that'll help with Fred Barnett and O.J. McDuffie and, of course, Dan Marino.
Is there a legitimate comparison to Michael Irvin?
Well, I don't think you can compare because of the production of what Michael has done. The other thing is Yatil is a lot faster than Michael. He's a little bit bigger than Michael. He's a big, fast receiver that can make plays, and that's what we're looking for.
But there were some questions about his durability. He missed most or all of 5 games.
Well, you know, just like a lot of these guys coming out early, they're young kids. And, you know, I talked to Butch about this. I think the biggest thing is we've got to make sure our conditioning's, you know, the proper type of conditioning to make sure he doesn't have the hamstring pulls. And that's where he had a little bit of a problem in college. But Yatil and I talked about it. We actually brought him back up here for our final recheck here just a few days ago. And so, you know, we addressed this with our trainers and everything. I think we'll be fine.
Speaking of Butch Davis, 8 of the first 17 players, University of Miami or Florida players.
Well, you got great football in the state of Florida. You got 3 outstanding universities, and they're all, you know, they're all well coached. And so you get a player from one of these 3 schools, you're going to have a well coached player that's probably one of the top athletes in the United States.
All right, stay tuned. Jimmy's got 9 picks left. Let's go back to Chris Berman in New York.